Welcome to Senior Stay or Go TV, a show to educate, entertain, and advocate on behalf of our aging adults. We are here to provide you the best information for your quality of life.
Welcome to Senior Stay or Go TV. Today we have two great guests. We have Dr. Diane Darby Beach. She is a gerontologist with Help Me and My Parents, and she also is the Director of Business Development for Right at Home. We also have Wendy
Hazuga.
I knew she was going to have to help me with that. She is the area manager for Right at Home. So welcome to both of you for joining us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for being here today. We're going to have a lively discussion as we get into our holiday season, Dr. Beach. We know that's a time where families hopefully will get together and they may observe certain things. So tell us, in your expertise and your experience, what mom or dad or the children might be looking for in terms of if mom or dad may need some help in the future.
Well, the holidays, as we know, people get together. Oftentimes they haven't been together for a long time, maybe even a year or so, and they notice some deterioration or significant deterioration amongst their family members. Things to look for are short-term memory loss, bills not being paid, the house being more than disheveled, their loved ones being at a risk for falling. Have they fallen lately? Things like that. Have they wandered out and not been able to make it home? You know, getting lost. Signs like that to pay attention to and get help sooner rather than later. Nobody makes a good decision when they're in crisis mode.
So given that, you know, tell us a little bit about home care versus, you know, a senior community and those decision processes.
So they're different. Many people want to stay at home, and rightfully so, and want to stay at home for as long as possible. So we encourage, if they can afford that, to get in-home care. They can have 24/7 care at home, of course, if they can afford it. The difference between home care and a community is an assisted living community or a community for dementia care. It's more of a formalized kind of situation. They're not in their home. They're in a home-like environment. There tend to be more activities and structure in an environment like that. So each one is a case-by-case decision. One is not simply appropriate for one person or the other. There are different situations where one or the other is more appropriate.
I think, before Patty, your questions, I think one of the things we would like to talk about is how to notice if parents are faking it.
Because they do that really well.
Yeah, they do. It's payback, because we did it as kids.
And before Patty gets to maybe you can ask, you know, how do I see, as my mom and dad are aging, how do I see through the facade that they really aren't doing as well as they are making me think they are?
The first thing is if your parent was highly intellectual or had more cognitive stimulation in their lives, they have what we call cognitive reserve. That means if they're having some short-term memory loss, they can fake it for a certain amount of time. So even though you may be having a conversation with them on the phone where you live, 500 miles away, they can pull it together.
Yep.
But once you're in the environment and you're there for more than a day or two, you will start to notice that. So if you suspect that is happening, the best thing to do is go stay with them for a little while, longer than a couple of hours.
Literally stay overnight.
Yes.
So that you're there late in the day, so that you're there in the evening, and so that you're there in the early morning to see the full 24-hour cycle.
Well, exactly. And one of the things we face amongst siblings is one may be in town and noticing things with mom or dad, and the other one is across the country. Well, when mom or dad gets on the phone with the sibling across the country, they can hold it together. So that sibling's saying, what are you talking about? She doesn't need home care. She's fine. She doesn't need to go to assisted living when, yeah, she does. So we say, you know what? How did the brother or sister that lives across the country come visit?
And who's going to pay for the flight? Anyway, that's all.
Exactly.
I digress.
So when they're trying to make the decision about staying at home versus going to a community, we know that you can pretty much get any service at either location, but as you mentioned earlier, there's more socialization, obviously, in the senior community. Have you found that socialization actually helps when somebody's been living alone for a long time to get into that environment and have people around them? Has it changed maybe their perspective or how they're handling? Because we've seen with clients who have lived alone that once they get into that environment, it's almost like they're reborn.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me say there's no one size fits all. And just because you have home care does not mean there is no socialization. Because depending on the home care agency, that caregiver is getting that person out, if they're able to get out and be social or bring it inward, or, into the home. So a community, again, there's no one size fits all. Home care is completely appropriate in certain situations. The community living is also appropriate. Socialization in general, I will tell you, is best. We as human beings are made to interact with other human beings.
Yep.
And when we isolate, we get depressed. So your parent may be getting depressed, and then it's a vicious cycle, because the more depressed you get, the more your self-esteem goes like this, downward, and then the more depressed you get. And then the less you want to be out, so you pull back, and you pull back. So some kind of social kind of intervention, interaction is critical, whether that's in the home environment or in the assisted living community.
Okay.
Wendy, let's turn to right at home. What is home care? People really don't understand what that means in today's environment.
Home care is non-medical in-home care, meaning we can provide companionship all the way to end-of-life hospice care. So non-medical, nothing real invasive, so we really can't do any wound care. We don't work with trachs, and we have to just be real careful as far as the medical part of it. But as far as companionship, being able to do, a lot of times, most people really just need meal preparation, assistance driving places, somebody to talk to, someone to be there for them, safety, in and out of the shower, standby assist when they're getting dressed. Those are just simple things that keep people going to be able to stay home a little bit longer until maybe it gets to a critical stage where we can't be there anymore. So. And
what is like the minimum? Give us a little bit about your company and what makes you fantastic.
It makes us fantastic. I think we have an amazing team, anywhere from administrative down to our caregivers. We have huge support because Right at Home is corporate, so all the decisions that we make are through corporate. So everything is 100% legal. We do everything by the books, just the way we're supposed to. And
so that means
again,
I should go on the Craigslist and get a caregiver off of Craigslist?
Go ahead. You want to take that chance. And I don't discourage you. I tell everyone, look at every avenue that you can.
Oh, I discourage that.
But we've heard a lot of horror stories, and there's no backup for that. Being licensed, bonded, insured, registered with the state. Caregivers are background checked, fingerprinted, FBI, Department of Justice. That's very, very important to us. We take that very serious. And we spend a lot of time there hand-holding and being a part of their lives from beginning to the end, not just the beginning. It's really, really important to us. We take it very personal.
So do you have a hospice arm within Right at Home, or do you work with other hospice entities?
We work with others. We team up, and we try to build relationships with ones that we feel work like us, like a great team, like a great family, and put in a lot of care and time. And we just try to keep building relationships with the ones that feel good to us, just like we feel good to them.
So walk through, I'm concerned about my mom or my dad during the holidays, and they're resisting, mom or dad are resisting.
Normal.
And I'm going to call you. What questions should I be asking you, and what questions would you be asking me, so that we can kind of get a couple hours in there for mom or dad?
Well, I always tell everyone the first thing when they call me, they kind of ask a little bit more about what should we do? Mom's starting to display this, but yet she's resistant. She's forgetting to turn off the stove. She forgets to lock the door at night, or she's not taking a shower. So as a family, you make a decision, including mom, to have me be a part of the conversation, and then we sit down together, because I think it's really important that the family member, especially the one we're talking about, is involved in the conversation, to slowly talk about a little bit of help at home. Not to take away independence or freedom, but just to come in and keep them independent and free, but safe, and let the family feel good about this. But I always encourage family members to make sure everyone's a part of the decision. And that works a lot of times.
What if mom and dad are resistant? Because, like, from my situation, they were covering for one another.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't want anybody to know the game. So if somebody came in, they'd be able to figure out the game.
Sure.
So every time we tried to get somebody in, it was basically they were kicked out. And so what do you do in that situation?
I say don't give up, because there is someone for everyone. We've had a lot of clients where it's taken months, until they found just the right caregiver, and all of a sudden, click, everything worked. And baby steps, start slow. Don't go in full time, because a lot of times families are like, we need this 40 hours a week or 24/7. All of a sudden, mom and dad are completely overwhelmed. Their space is being invaded. Their privacy is being invaded. They didn't make that decision. I say, go slow. Start off with 1 shift a week for 4 hours and just build a relationship. Then build it up to 2 shifts a week, and then maybe even 3. Always ask for their feedback. It's their decision to keep the caregiver or not, so they build that relationship too. You know, it's their home. We're guests in their home.
I mean, Dr. Beach, you've been doing this for a couple of years.
Please do not date me.
Have you seen a shift in the people's thinking as we move away from the World War II generation into the baby boomer generation? Have you seen a more open?
Definitely. You know, the old school, so to speak, definition or vision of long-term care was a smelly, dirty nursing home.
Right.
And that's what many people still have, that image in their mind.
Yep.
And now we've come to a point where our long-term care looks like home living. It's community-based living. A lot of our older adults still don't understand that, and that's why they're resistant. However, the baby boomers, especially the tail end, they are starting to see, okay, the norm is more of this community-based living. And boy, it's not so bad, right? I get my meals, get my place cleaned, I can go to activities, I've got my freedom, but I don't have all the responsibility. And there has definitely been a shift to more of a positive way of thinking. The hard part of it is, how do they afford it?
Right.
A lot of people just don't have the means to afford it, and you know, assisted living is private pay or long-term care insurance. Medicare does not pay for it. It's pricey.
So, I mean, in terms of technology, do you see technology coming into play, or is that more an invasion of privacy, or how are you going to be using technology?
Oh, I think technology is definitely coming into play all the time and getting better and better and making us, I think, above and beyond some of the others, because we are able, for example, Diane said, you know, private pay or long-term care insurance. Back in the day, long-term care insurance was a huge paper trail to send in all of the ADLs and things that needed to be done in order for them to collect, and that took time.
ADLs.
Oh, active daily living.
Activities of daily living.
Yep. So now technology is advanced so much to where our caregivers clock in and out using the phone, and they are able to report what the client has done or not done. We then make a report. Technology sent it to long-term care insurance, and the process is even faster. So, and they love it. We love it. Clocking in and out too. You know, just technology, no paper trail.
What do you think of all the technology, though, that's coming out, like the lasers to detect when somebody's getting up and out of bed, or the watches that are being designed to allow seniors to, you know, turn on lights and TV while they're sitting down versus getting up? It's going to allow them to feel more independent, but is it going to interfere with trying to manage their progress and what they need?
I'm a believer that I think the technology is better than nothing.
Okay.
I would say, and it's a start. Some families, as we pointed out earlier, how do you talk mom and dad into, well, can we start with a little bit of technology? Maybe it's not a person that's in your home, but
something
a small device that at least detects some of your behavior and some of the actions, and we could sit down and talk about what we saw and then go slow. So I think that it's a good thing. I really do. I guess I'm of that age. So
no, that's good.
You know, I would add to that too, that depending on the client. Now, if you have someone with dementia and you're asking them to wear, you know, a monitor,
it's not gonna
you know, it may or may not fly.
Right.
So it depends upon when we go out there and assess the client. You know, what are their needs and what are they able to do cognitively? And some are going to be more appropriate for that kind of technology, and some aren't.
Well, now that you brought up dementia, so what are the options for someone with dementia? Because there's different levels of dementia as well, and you know, there's the initial phases of losing your cognitive abilities, but still being able to fake it really well, and then there's the middle, and then there's the end, which is very progressive. So, what are the options? Are there options to stay at home in the beginning and the middle, but not quite the end, or can you stay at home?
The biggest thing is to remain fluid and flexible. So a decision that
you
you make today may not work 3 months from now, may not work 6 months from now, may not work tomorrow or an hour from now. So flexibility is imperative. The decision to, the options, stay at home, go to assisted living, stay at home and go to adult daycare. These are all family-based decisions, and they are systemic. So it's not just about the person with dementia. It's about the entire family, the entire caregiving group, because everybody's impacted. So what might work, you know, having mom come stay at my house may be just fine. But for somebody else who's being disrupted in terms of their marriage and family, maybe that's not the appropriate solution. So it's all contextual and systemic, and we have to evaluate the whole family.
And that's the hard part, is you can't really plan. You have to be reactive more than proactive, because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
You be as proactive as you can.
Right.
Because nobody makes a decision, a good decision, when they're in crisis. So if you have your options laid out, at least when that crisis hits, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, it's going to happen. And if you have a roadmap, you'll be much better off.
So do you do that for your clients?
I
Do
do.
you say, okay, here's where we are today, but tomorrow, here's where we might be?
Exactly. So I sit down, typically I'll do a whole family assessment, an assessment of the patient or client, and then we make a roadmap, a care plan for now and for contingencies in the future.
And the website, Doc, I love your website name.
Helpmewithmyparent.com. And it's parent, not plural. So helpmewithmyparent.com.
So either contact Right at Home or
Yes.
you at your
Yes.
website.
Yes.
And we have a website too at Right at Home.
Right
Yep.
at Home, of course. So we have gone, we could talk about this for days.
Yes.
We've gone long, and I appreciate it because it's such a, this is, again, people are just, don't get out there, know enough information about this. And if they do get on the internet, it could take them way too far afield. So I recommend that they talk to the experts who really do this day in and day out. So we thank you both for being here. It's been a great discussion. I hope people will take it to heart during the holiday season and really dive into how mom and dad are doing. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
So stay
it.
tuned for more Senior Stay or Go.